Hello. Who has papers to show me? Yay, Tracy. Excuse me. I'm in. Pardon me. Okay, for the recording, welcome back. We are ACI Course 1, Class 10. That went so fast. Which means we have one more class together in which we will review your final exam. I'll do it. And we just go through the questions, like boring, but it gives you everything you need to be able to complete this course in a time frame. And I'm going to ask you to please give yourself a date that you promise yourself you will have your papers completed by. Right? I'm not going to assign it to this group, but please assign it to yourself. And please complete your papers. And then, as I said before, I'm starting off the platform course 2. The morning time frame will be on Mondays and Fridays, starting September 11. So you're welcome to join us if you like. You need to contact me or Victor Lee. Okay, so that said, let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until, how do we get the homework without the platform? You can go to acidharma.org to formal classes, formal courses, course 1. Yeah. It's for free, of course. Okay, let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. And how wonderful it would be if we could also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they would go on to stop their distress forever. We are learning that that's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And maybe even into an intention. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we need to do to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. All right, let's listen again to Jetsun Kapa's instructions. The three principal paths. I bow to all the high and holy lamas. As far as I am able, I will explain the essence of all high teachings of the victors, the path that all their holy sons commend, the entry point for the fortunate seeking freedom. Listen with a pure mind. Fortunate ones who have no craving for the pleasures of life, and who, to make leisure and fortune meaningful, strive to turn their minds to the path which pleases the victors. There is no way to end without pure renunciation, this striving for pleasant results in the ocean of life. It is because of their hankering life as well that beings are fettered. So seek renunciation first. Leisure and fortune are hard to find. Life is not long. Think it constantly. Stop desire for this life. Think over and over how deeds and their fruits never fail, and the cycle is suffering. Stop desire for the future. When you have meditated thus and feel not even a moment's wish for the good things of cyclic life, and when you begin to think both night and day of achieving freedom, you have found renunciation. Renunciation, though, can never bring the total bliss of matchless Buddhahood unless it is bound by the purest wish. And so the wise seek the high wish for enlightenment. They are swept along on 4 fierce river currents, chained up tight in past deeds, hard to undo, stuffed in a steel cage of grasping self, smothered in the pitch black ignorance. In a limitless round they are born, and in their births are tortured by 3 sufferings without a break. Think how your mothers feel. Think of what's happening to them. Try to develop this highest wish. You may master renunciation and the wish, but unless you have the wisdom perceiving reality, you cannot cut the root of cyclic life. Make efforts in ways then to perceive interdependence. A person has entered the path that pleases the Buddhas when, for all objects in the cycle or beyond, they see that cause and effect can never fail, and when for them, those lose all solid appearance. You have yet to realize the thought of the able, as long as 2 ideas seem to you disparate. The appearance of things, infallible interdependence, and emptiness beyond taking any position. At some point, they no longer alternate, come together. Just seeing that interdependence never fails brings realization that destroys how you hold to objects. And then your analysis with view is complete. In addition, the appearance prevents the existence extreme, emptiness, that of non-existence. And if you see how cause and effect sorry. If you see how emptiness shows in cause and effect, you will never be stolen off by extreme views. When you have grasped, as well as I, the essential points of each of the three principal paths explained, then go into isolation, my child, make mighty efforts, and quickly win your ultimate wish. So last class, we started the topic of correct worldview, the third principle that we are bringing to realize. And within that, we learned about that topic called the two truths. So someone please give me those two truths. Just the name of them, Tracy.
Deceptive truth and ultimate truth.
Yeah, deceptive truth and ultimate truth. Tracy, how can a truth be deceptive? It's not true if it's deceptive.
Because we don't have the ability to fully see it in the right way. And for that reason, everything is deceptive until we see the ultimate.
Yeah, good. Good. So deceptive doesn't mean, oh, that wall is solid, but that's just deceptive. So I'll just walk through it, right? If I tried, whang, I would probably get hurt. And yet, ultimately, there isn't anything solid about the wall, is there? Not from the wall side. But there's definitely something solid about the wall from my side. And that's what it is to be a wall from my side, is something solid, right? That, makes a border, makes it, I don't know. So, deceptive reality. The reality, meaning our experiences in which things appear differently than they truly exist. Deceptive reality is the reality as ordinary ignorant beings experience it. It's deceptive not in the sense that it's not really there. It's deceptive in the sense that it's not really there in the way that we believe it to be there. Because it is really there. Then ultimate reality is that reality in which things appear consistent with the way they really exist. Which on our first pass through ultimate reality, we said, ultimate reality is the empty nature of all existing things. And that is their ultimate truth, their ultimate nature, is their blankness that allows them to be what we, the experiencers, experience them as. But without something to be empty, there would be no ultimate reality. So one could say, ultimately, ultimate reality requires both an appearing And by way of the appearing, whatever appeared has to have as its nature that blankness, that emptiness. Okay? Takes both. Yeah, you need subject and object for reality to exist. You need dependent origination and emptiness for anything. The two are going to come together. That's what we're talking about. When we study them, we study one and then the other, and one and then the other. And we feel like they're actually disparate, says the verse. Because when we hear the term empty, no self, our mind automatically thinks, oh, not at all, right? Not there at all. If it doesn't exist in the way I think it does, it must not exist at all. Intellectually, we say that's ridiculous because here's the thing. And to recognize that it has different causes than what I think it did doesn't make it disappear. But something in our experience about it does disappear, which is our belief that it has its self in it. Right? So deceptive reality, ultimate reality, those also are simultaneous things. As ignorant humans, we are perceiving deceptive reality all the time and completely unaware of the deceptive reality of those things as we are perceiving them, because we're not aware that we are misperceiving everything. Okay. So, interdependence, we learned, is explained at 3 different levels. As we're learning about it, we go through these 3 different levels of understanding interdependence, and it comes to be called the different schools of Buddhism. The functionalist school. If things function, they must have some nature of their own. They say what cause and effect means, what interdependence means, is that things exist in dependence upon their causes. That's correct. That's really not so profound. We all know that. Exactly what those causes are that they depend upon gets more subtle as you investigate that. The independent school, who don't believe, independent school, they say that's right, things exist dependent upon their parts, but it's incomplete because there are some things, things exist in dependence upon their causes, but it's incomplete because there are some existing things that in fact don't have causes, and they still exist dependently, like empty space and emptiness. And they are still interdependent because they exist in dependence upon their parts. Arya Nagarjuna investigators did a whole long thing about how we think things exist dependence upon their parts. And then next school up says, that's all true, but it's insufficient to help us stop our suffering, let alone the suffering of all beings. What we need to come to realize is that things exist independent upon our mind thinking of them and labeling them in the way that we do. So we spoke to all of that about the pen, about objects of our experience. And we, got a glimpse of how different beings perceive this same object in different ways, which reveals the no self nature of the object. Its identity can't be in it, from it. If something depends upon the observer for the way the observer experiences it, this thing can't be totally self-existent, right? The one we experience, some part of our experience of it must come from us. Highest school says every part of our experience of it comes from us. And what comes from us, what makes it come from us, is the results of some cause that we put into our own mind by way of some past behavior. So real cause and effect, then, is driven by our behavior towards the other, the objects of our experiences, because of how that behavior imprints our consciousness and how those causes ripen into the results, which is our current experience. So we were talking about how, inanimate objects, pens, trees, we think they have their nature in them. We call it self. We don't believe that the pen has self-awareness, I don't think. But self in the terms of identity and qualities in it. The term is called duck. Duck. And we heard that the pen is duck me, selfless, no self. But we don't mean, oh, that's just pointing out that the pen has no self-awareness, right? That is not profound. We all know that. The self means identity in it, from it. We use the term self-existent to mean that. Now, the term duck and this whole principles we've been talking about also applies to my duck, me, and you, your duck, yourself. So it means self. Duck me means no self. highest school keeps saying, things have no nature of their own. Things are dogme. I am dogme. I have no nature of my own. It's shortened to say no self. The pen has no self. I have no self. But when my mind hears somebody say, you have no self, automatically it goes, no self at all? That's nuts. Here I am. But when we say no self, think of it as there's a difference between, let me write it, no self and no self. We are not saying no self exists. We are saying no self exists. Got it? This one, no self, meaning my empty nature. My no self exists because I exist. Right? So dakme means my no self nature. Can you feel the difference? My no self nature, not my no self nature. My no self nature is a nature I have. It's my blankness. It's my emptiness. It's the fact that each one of you have a unique and individual experience of me. And I have a unique individual experience of me. And that can only be true if my self nature is in fact a no self nature. Emptiness, an empty nature, dakme. Right? So this, when you hear people say, oh, Buddhism says no self exists, right? Do you hear it differently now? It's like, yeah, no self exists. But no, it doesn't mean no self exists. That'd be ridiculous. Okay? There's no such thing as something that exists independent of something else. Again, we all know that. What becomes profound is when we pursue what is the something else that all things depend upon, and we reach the understanding, the conclusion that, oh my gosh, it all depends on my behavior. That is still not obvious, is it? But that's where the profundity comes in. Because if the natures and qualities of every experience I have are results of my own past behavior, that means that my current behavior is how I create my experiences of my future. And when we really understand that clearly, our choices of behavior get fine-tuned because we become a gardener instead of harvester, right? Our concern becomes our gardening, our planting. Whereas old world view, we're focused on the harvesting, right? Getting what I want out of a world of things that I want and I don't want because they're good or bad in them, pleasant or unpleasant in them. When in fact, there's nothing that's pleasant or unpleasant in it, from it. They are pleasant and unpleasant as we perceive them to be that way, forced by the ripening results of our own past behavior that made them pleasant or unpleasant. How? By way of that behavior having been unkind to another, resulting in unkindness back to me, unpleasantness, or kindness, resulting in some kind of pleasure that comes back to me. But pleasure that wears out, we learned, until the kindness deeds that I do are also imbued with this reason for doing them, which is in order to stop perpetuating the, right, that's proof, Shanti. The, lost my train of thought. By Shanti's good question. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, translators. Drop that sentence. Yeah, Shanti's question was for the rapist. They think, right? They are having some kind of perverted pleasure. The rapee is not, right? Sort of by definition. And old world view goes, so how can something be empty? That's a terrible experience for everybody. But it's a different experience for the two of them, right? It's a different ripening. The victim is ripening results. The perpetrator is planting seeds for future results. That's actually where compassion comes in. And it's really, really difficult. It's really too difficult a conversation for a beginning class, right? Because you would not counsel a rape victim and say, you know what, really, this is all coming from your karma, right? Do not ever say that to someone. However, I have had at least one student who, you know, by the time we were 3/4 of the way through the ACI series, she came to me and, you know, explained some horrible experience she had had as a young girl and how learning how to think about it differently, she healed from it. And she's gone on to help other people be able to heal from that kind of experience. It wasn't because I ever sat her down and said, you've got to stop blaming that other. She came to it, right, in her own time, in her own analysis. And it made a profound difference in her and her life and how she's helped other people. And it kind of became one of those things where the worst thing that happened to me became one of the best things that happened. You know, I've had one of those myself. And right, you can't tell somebody that, but we learn, we apply, we come to these ahas, and we heal from those traumas in that way. Of course, it doesn't make it okay. And it clearly shows us what behaviors not to do. Right? That's the point of understanding all of this, is that we come to see, well, then how do I know what behavior I should take up and what behavior I should give up if really none of those behaviors are good or bad from their own side? We get the guidelines. Avoid the 10 non-virtues. Do their opposite. We have the refuge advices, our vows, bodhisattva vows, as guidelines of behavior. To help us make our choices. But once we understand the principle, we know what it's like to be treated with compassion and love. It may not mean I get exactly what I want at the moment I want it, like alcohol for the alcoholic. But we're trying to bring someone some moral, healthy pleasure to the best of our ability. All right, I don't need to do that. To plant our seeds, to never see someone addicted to something again, right? Or to see them addicted to something that helps other people, right? Okay, all of that was about no self. You have a question on class 9's homework. What is meant in the highest school by no self exists? Right? It's the difference between hearing, oh, no self, versus no self exists. Meaning the blank, the unidentified nature of any existing thing, including myself, that allows it or me to be perceived and experienced in the way that I do, the way that I am. No self exists. The answer key says, the word self refers to any nature that objects have in which they rely on nothing else. No such thing exists. The non-existence of any such nature is what is called the no self. And we have that no self nature, the non-existence of not depending on anything else. What anything else? Our karmic seeds ripening ultimately. Those karmic seeds ripening make it such that building a wall depends on having bricks and mortar and somebody to do it. Okay. But the real cause and effect is the karmic seeds ripening. All right. So all of that was finishing up class 9, but it goes into class 10. And now I've got to really go fast. All right, so I gave you Dak and Dak Me, which means the no self. Dak and Dak Me. Let me give you the vocabulary for this class. Last class, we talked about dendral. It's the word for dependent origination, meaning things depend on other things, causes, parts, ultimately the way we name and label things, which is forced by karma, the process of karma. Nangwa is the word for appearances. And tompa is the word for empty, emptiness, tompani. Okay, got him. So the last 1, 2, 3. The 4 verses before the last one are speaking to correct worldview. The intro is those are Tibetan. The intro is that renunciation and bodhicitta are necessary realizations, but without correct worldview, they aren't sufficient to bring us to total Buddhahood. So Jatsongkhapa says, make efforts in ways then to perceive interdependence. So the interdependence he's talking about here is the interdependence between how it is that our behavior creates our reality. Right? The highest level of interdependence. He goes on, he says, a person has entered the path that pleases the Buddhas when for all objects in the cycle or beyond, they see that cause and effect can never fail. And when for them, those things lose all solid appearance. So to just hear the words, it sounds like, wow, if I could see the actual cause and effect of things, then the solidity of my world would melt away. And walls wouldn't be solid. I could just walk right through them. You know, we're getting kind of the wrong idea, but in a way, a glimpse of the right idea. It is true that walls are not solid from their own side. It is true that you could walk through it if that was our karmic ripening result of some way that we help somebody pass through an obstacle in the past. Miracles happen, right? Yeah, like a movie goes. Again, the cause and effect level that he's speaking to here isn't, oh, they depend on their worldly causes, or they depend upon their hearts. Here, the cause and effect that he's speaking about is the karmic reasons for our experiences. The karmic reasons means my behavior, making the imprints in my mind that become the circumstances of my experience. Right? We use the word karma, and whatever you've learned in life about karma gets into that word, and it limits us. But it's too long to say what you did in the past ripens as your future, and that's what I mean by cause and effect. But that is what we mean by cause and effect. Result of my past behavior. When we see that cause and effect can never fail, all those objects within samsara and all the ones that we imagine that are going to be outside of samsara, meaning our Buddha paradises, and form and formless, well, no, those aren't out of samsara. Our Buddha paradises, they are still empty of self-nature, or they couldn't be. They are still dependently originated, or they couldn't be. Meaning we create our Buddha paradises, and then we perpetuate creating them by way of the same method that we are perpetuating our samsaric world, our suffering world. When we become fully enlightened beings, existence is still by way of dependent origination. Emptiness and karma is still true. We don't call it karma. As pure beings, we call it merit. But the process is still happening. Perceptions, imprints, ripenings, experience. He goes on to say, you have yet to realize the thought of the able, as long as two ideas seem to you disparate. The appearance of things, infallible interdependence, and emptiness beyond taking any position. The thought of the able is meaning, the able is a term for Lord Buddha, and to realize the thought of the able means to bring to realization this correct worldview. So we have yet to be able to plant the seeds for our Buddhahood, as long as we are still holding to this understanding that the way things appear and their emptiness are two separate concepts, two separate things. And we learn it that way. And then our task is to bring those two together until to be aware of an appearance of anything, we automatically know or think of it's no self-nature, it's emptiness. That we can't experience something without at least the intellectual addition of the emptiness that we can't see, right? We see the object, the deceptive reality. We can't see the fact that its real cause is my karma ripening. And we cannot see its lack of self-nature, because we're seeing it with a self-nature, and that's like the wall between me and my outside. My belief in this object's identity in it is this blocker to my ability to see it as my seed ripening and nothing other than that. It's emptiness. But as we work with how it is that any appearance, anything that appears to us, has to be a ripening result of my own past imprints made, then that automatically negates all those other things that the object could have come from. And that's revealing to me it's no self nature, it's emptiness. So at some point, we will reach the point where to experience anything, we will intellectually know it's emptiness, intellectually know it's interdependence, meaning it's appearing because of seeds ripening and no existence other than that. The existence of its no self nature allows my experience of it. One or the other. We can work with one or the other at a time. Its appearing nature. Now you put a bunch of different beings, look at it. It can't be coming from its own side. All right, I see its emptiness. If we're trying to work with emptiness, in order to think about emptiness, we have to have something that's empty of self nature, right? There's no just blanket emptiness to think about. We get to it by way of an object, which could be ourself, and then we investigate where is the one that everybody would experience the same way, because that would reveal a self nature. Is there a me, a part of me that everybody would experience in the same way? No. Right? Well, no, the real me is me. Yeah, but I've never even seen my face directly. Everybody else has. People have memories of me that I don't remember. Right? My me isn't even the ultimate for me. So it really isn't hard to get to intellectually. It does require doing over and over and over. And to do so in meditation, you're in a safe place, right? You have a little time to yourself. You can work these things out. Helps plant the seeds so that when we are in the midst of life, we'll be more likely for it to, pop into awareness. Oh, there's that nasty boss yelling at me again. They must have, their wife must have yelled at them. I didn't do what they're yelling at me for. I'm feeling hurt and defensive. And I want to, yell back or chew them out, or whatever my habitual response to them is arises. Old me would just let fly. Growing wisdom me, maybe can stop and think, wow, this whole experience is my seeds ripening. That person is planting seeds. It's not, yeah, it's unpleasant to get yelled at, but I'm not under any physical threat. I know I'm burning this off. I'll do my best to be kind here. And maybe the best I can do is just zip my lip. And maybe I can do a little better even and say, you know, I'm sorry you're upset with me, even though I didn't do what you're saying I did. How can I help? Is that going to stop them from yelling? Maybe, maybe not. Is it going to stop them from being angry? Probably not. Maybe, maybe not. But did we not perpetuate, right, the cycle by responding with a little greater kindness than we would have ordinarily? Yes. If I then also be very careful with my interaction with other beings, to not do things that make those beings feel like I feel when the boss yells at me, then not only have I used that experience of boss yelling to not perpetuate it by not yelling back, I've used it to recognize, oh, I feel disrespected. You know, I don't yell at other people, but I feel disrespected. Where do I make other people feel disrespected? Where can I stop doing that? Because I already don't yell. So that experience has shown me what I can change in myself related to others that will reduce the situations for me where I need to, my karma ripens me needing to get yelled at to feel disrespected as a ripening of how I have disrespected others. You see, the whole unpleasant situation becomes clues to how I create in other situations to increase the likelihood of my own future being more pleasant. If I create a future where that boss stops yelling at me, is that also a nicer future for the boss? Yes. Because they're making less negative karma by not yelling at me so often. So I'm helping everybody by changing my behavior to change my world. I'm helping everyone. Little by little, of course. So the verse says, the appearance of things, dash, infallible interdependence, and emptiness beyond taking any position. Nangwa means something appears to us. Even me appears to me, not just physical body, but right, here I am, here I am, here I am. Any appearance, for it to be what we experience, it has to have its blankness. It has to have its no self nature. It has to have its absence. Oh, thanks, Lucy. Its absence of its own nature so that it can be what I experience. Any appearing thing has that no self nature. And the game is to train ourselves to recognize it even though we can't see it. directly. Okay. Lucy reminded us that I am past break time, so let's take a break. Please forgive me. I get on a roll.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Who said that? Chris.
The thing that roadblocks my homework is the memorizing part and so I want to make sure, is the 10th verse the one that says a person's entered the path that pleases the Buddhas?
14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Yes.
Yeah. And then 12th is at some point they no longer alternate, come together.
Correct.
Okay. It's that first is the, anyway, I've numbered them the wrong way.
Good. Good. Good for you for trying.
It's like, it goes,
I know.
so I'm trying to be kind, and if I can memorize it for now, I'm saying, yeah, I memorized it. Where
Exactly.
before I was like, no, it's gone again. I guess I didn't memorize it.
I know, me too. I know I keep telling myself, I've memorized that so many times, which means I didn't memorize it at all, right?
It was empty memorization.
I know. But my experience was when I kept at it, all of a sudden one of these verses would pop in my head, when I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And, I can't go back then and put the whole thing together, but the verse goes, ping, there it is.
Right. Yeah.
And that's makes it worth it.
Yeah. But it's like I'm always going, what was the word? Was it create, or was it come into, I mean,
Yeah.
but then it's like meditating on it.
Right.
But anyway.
Science says it helps to memorize if we're doing alternate movement while we're memorizing. So, you can like walk back and forth as we memorize, or just move up and down as we memorize, because I think it does something with our brains. And that really does help, actually.
I'm really dyslexic, so it's hard for me to get things.
Yeah, right. All the more reason to do it this way.
That sounds like it would work. I was also wondering, in the whole idea of emptiness, it's like conventional wisdom used to say that we filtered a reality that's out there in different ways. I filter it different and you filter it different. Mm-hmm. But this is emptiness is more, would it be more like a template that we get from planting our seeds that we apply to what's out there?
Yes.
Is that a good? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. It's it's more like any it's so hard. Like, take a snapshot of every existing thing that you can be aware of right now, and recognize that that's one snapshot of my ripening, and all of those things are blank from their own side, which means, right, in the next instant it's something entirely different, without really, I don't know, I can't describe it. Like, the all potential of everything is in anything at every moment, including us. And it's only what it is to each of us by way of the ripening seeds coloring it, right, in the way it does. So it's not like it's there and blinks out and there and blinks out. It's just shape shift, right? Everything. What was that movie? Everything All at Once, Everywhere, something like that. I didn't watch the movie, but I like the term, right?
It's the chocolate sauce we put on the.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Good. All right, are we back? Yeah. So in this verse, they say, they use the term emptiness dash beyond taking any position, which seems like what a funny way to clarify the term emptiness, beyond taking any position. And what's trying to be conveyed here is, like this situation, that's not a good pen here. You can see this one better, I think. If Tracy's dog and I are both looking at this pen at the same time, and we say, who's right? Yeah, that's beyond taking any position, right? Tracy goes, right? You can't say the human's right, the dog's right. So taking a position would say, no, that dumb dog is chewing on my pen. That's taking a position. Beyond taking any position means, yeah, I see a pen. Yeah, dog sees whatever they see. Fly sees whatever they see. And I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with that object having no identity of its own, beyond taking any position. It's a little funny. We are really resistant to being beyond taking any position. My husband likes Mexican food. I do too, but the current Mexican restaurant that's within walking distance uses lard. Nobody uses lard anymore.
Not in my town.
But this one uses lard. When we learned that, Sarahni says, I won't go there anymore. Oh, honey, please, can't we go to the Mexican restaurant? Lard means the oil that they use comes from animal fat instead of vegetable. And it's like, no, I won't go there. There's Chinese. Why did I bring that up? Right? We're both taking positions. And it's really hard to take no position when we've made this determination, right? I don't imbibe animal products like that. We have to take position. But if we take positions wisely, it's because we understand we're choosing our position from a different perspective than from before. Right? We may be used to argue about where to go to eat because I liked this better and he likes that better. We never actually did that, but I could imagine that scenario. Right? No, I like Italian. Yeah, but I want Chinese. And then we struggle. In higher worldview, we can still have those preferences, of course. But understanding where preferences come from, it's much more likely that we would say, yes, I'd prefer Italian, so let's go to Chinese. Because that means in the future, somebody else is going to say, Sarahni, let's go for Italian food. Oh, sure. Right? And I don't have to impose it on anybody to get it for myself, because imposing it on somebody else and getting it for myself are unrelated. If I impose it on somebody else and I get what I want, the getting what I want is a result of having helped somebody get what they want. It doesn't come from imposing. Imposing means I'm going to be imposed upon in the future. If I don't like that, I need to not do it towards another. On the other hand, I can decide being imposed upon, nothing really negative about that. Doesn't have to be. Sure, impose upon me. Does that mean I go ahead and impose upon others because I don't care whether I'm imposed upon? No, because it might still upset them. In which case, I won't have the result of not being unpleasant by being imposed upon, because I still imposed upon somebody else. Do you see how slippery this gets fast? So, right, we start with the obvious. This is pleasant, this is unpleasant when it happens to me. So I will do my best to avoid being the cause of someone else's that kind of unpleasantness. And I will try to be the cause of someone's pleasantness simply because I'm beginning to understand about how I create my world through my interaction with others. And I want to try it on for size and see what I can do. We are already kind people. It's not like we have to make some new amazing habits to hold the door open for someone. What we're training ourselves in adding to that is the real reason of why we're holding the door open for them. Not just habit, not even just kindness, but because this is the opportunity for me to become one who can help that other become ultimately happy someday. And that's why I'm holding the door open for you, because of emptiness and karma, and everybody wants happiness. I will hold the door open. I will let that car in front of me. Right? I will not comment, right, on that lady's outfit negatively. Yeah. What about misunderstanding where someone is thinking you caused their unpleasant and you know you didn't? No, but you see, we did. We caused the whole situation, the whole misunderstanding. Right? Same analogy with the angry yelling boss at me. I really didn't do what he's blaming me for, but I did create the situation of being yelled at for something I didn't do. Right? And so we want to train ourselves to choose our action towards our situation such that we burn off the negative by experiencing it and plant flower seeds instead of replant weeds. It takes a little planning. It takes recognizing those mental afflictions that arise in the place of both pleasant and unpleasant situations. And kind of think about how that mental affliction wants to make us act and choose an opposite response. So in the example of the boss yelling at me, making me feel disrespected, like I think, well, what kinds of things make people feel disrespected? You know, ignoring, you know, you're talking to somebody and a third person walks up, and because you're focused on this conversation, you don't, right? You don't acknowledge. That's something that really annoys my husband. And it's like, yeah, but I'm really concentrating on this conversation. I'll get to the other person. And he says, no, just glance up and smile. That's enough to recognize that they're there. And he's really right? But little details like that, okay, I'm going to look for where it is that I just by somebody, and I'm going to make the effort to just look them in the eye and smile, which is really kind of fun to do anyway, if our habit is to ignore. And it's like, well, what does that have to do with the boss yelling at me at work? But you see, it has everything to do with it, because my seeds are, right, the way I feel disrespected is when he yells at me. And by planting the opposite seeds in my mind, they're serving to negate the ones that I have of causing disrespect to others. And that means my situations of being caused disrespect are gonna reduce. And that means the person who serves as the one who makes me feel disrespect doesn't have to do it. So they don't make seeds for being yelled at, because my karma is not forcing them to yell at me to make me feel disrespected. Do you see that additional layer? So yes, we don't like to be disrespected. So we're doing this for our own benefit. And in doing so, we're benefiting those who are the ones that are forced to act towards me because of my karma ripening. So we really are helping others by way of choosing our own morality with greater and greater intention. Not just, I'm going to be kind back to them so I get a good result. I'm going to be kind back to them so we all get a good result eventually. To be kind makes pleasantness that wears out. To be kind because we understand karma and emptiness makes pleasure that doesn't wear out, meaning contributes to our own future Buddha you and Buddha paradise emanating to every being to help them. Same deed now becomes the cause of Buddhahood. We learned that, right? Deeds done with bodhicitta. The wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all beings. As you're holding the door open, is included in the imprint made by the holding the door open. That will transform ourselves and our world. So there's another verse. At some point, these no longer alternate. They come together. Just seeing that interdependence never fails brings realization that destroys how you hold to objects, and then your analysis with view is complete. So he's saying here, we want to keep working with our understanding that any experience I have is an appearance, which means it's my seeds ripening, including the me experiencing it, and it is empty of any other nature than being my seeds ripening. And so I can no longer blame anybody or anything other than my own past behavior for what I experienced. Okay? All of that, they did that to me, drops away. Not instantly. Don't we wish, right? It could just be gone. But little by little, big by big, as we understand better and better, every experience I have is unique to me. And it's an opportunity to plant new experiences for everyone, unique to me. Not meaning I'm the only one that exists, meaning like what I bring to the party. What can I bring to the party that will be beautiful and fun and uplifting and heart-opening for everyone? To see something is to know its emptiness. To know its emptiness is to see its potential to be anything. Who cares about pens? What about other people? What about yourself? To perceive yourself is to know your blank nature, which is to know your possibility to be anything for anyone at any moment. What do you want to be? Try it on for size. Lastly, this is my favorite verse. It threw me for a really long time. In addition, the appearance prevents the existence extreme. emptiness that of non-existence. And if you see how emptiness shows in cause and effect, you will never be stolen off by extreme views. Doesn't this seem backwards? The appearance prevents the existence extreme. Things exist because they appear to us, don't they? No. Right? The appearance prevents the existence extreme. The existence means, extreme means things exist in the way that I think they do. I know, I just love this one because it was such a conundrum for so long. And now it's so clear to me that I can't even describe why it wasn't clear to me before. So you're going to get there. Oh, an appearing. It prevents the existence extreme. The thing appears, and so it can't be appearing in the way that I think. What? Okay, think of its emptiness. It has no nature of its own. Doesn't it make our mind go, oh, that's its real nature? This is its appearing nature. There's its real nature, right? It's wrong. To think emptiness means things don't exist at all, right? Is the other extreme. If this pen doesn't exist in the way that I think it does, it must not exist at all. When the appearance reveals, oh, my seed's ripening, because of its emptiness, now we have it right. Every appearance reveals emptiness without going off either cliff. No, it has to exist the way I think, which means in it from it. If it doesn't exist like that, it doesn't have any real nature. It's just a figment of my imagination. Cliff of no existence at all. Bring those together to see an appearance we know, dependent origination and emptiness happening here. I like the term profound dependence. The profound means the empty part. The dependence means my seeds part. And we have, two words that are easier to say to mean how emptiness, emptiness shows in cause and effect. Appearances show cause and effect, and emptiness shows in that. Get it? Cook it, work with it until it's like, it took me years, honestly. I took this set of verses with Medicine Buddha. I did my first 2-week solitary retreat on the Diamond Mountains when Geshe Michael and the others were in their 3-year retreat. And it was the most profound retreat, this first 2-week baby solitary retreat. And I memorized and I really worked with this verse, or this whole set of verses. And I just could not crack this verse in those 2 weeks. And then 10 years later, because I'm a pretty slow study, it's like, why was that verse so hard? Yeah, so I encourage you to chew on it and try to explain it. When we get that, the appearance of anything has to be karma. And because of karma, things have to be empty. And that means anything can be anything, including me. I want to make it be kind, beautiful, compassionate, wise, loving, helpful. And I'll do so to the best of my ability, which will fail from time to time, more often actually than it succeeds. But the trying is all that's necessary. You know, the trying. So then go into isolation, go into meditation, make mighty efforts, and quickly win your ultimate wish, says Lama Tsongkhapa. So you have only 2 questions for your homework 10. One of them is, can the idea of karma, you know, you reap what you sow, and the idea of emptiness, nothing has any nature in it. How can those coexist? Right? Aren't they contradictory? And of course, they're not contradictory. They're only contradictory if we misunderstand them. That in fact, they are 2 sides of the same coin. The dependent origination is the karma, meaning our behavior, which is the source of every experience. And the emptiness is the blank screen nature of ourselves and all existing other that allows for our karmic seeds to ripen what they do. So morality and emptiness are not contradictory. In fact, they are codependent, right? Interdependent. They depend upon each other, but really meaning they arise together. For one to be there, the other must. For appearances to be the appearances that they are, the subject, the object, the interaction between all must be blank, so that the karmic seed can ripen into that experience. So Geshe-la gives this analogy. I'm going to read it to you. He says, the marriage of karma and emptiness, meaning the marriage of morality. I need to get back to that. Morality and emptiness is like a blank screen. And karma is the projector that puts the images on the screen. The images on the film that plays are our mental processes. Because things are empty of self-nature, they have the nature of being like a blank screen. We project onto them according to our mental processes, right? The film goes by the light and it gets projected onto that blank These mental processes are formed by our past thoughts, words, and deeds. The movement of the mind and what it motivates, our karma. Doing virtuous thoughts, words, and deeds creates mental processes of pleasurable events for you in your future. Doing non-virtuous karma creates mental processes which will project painful events for you in the future. Because things are empty, karma provides our experience of those things. Not although things are empty, I experience things in the way that I do. It's because things are empty, I experience things in the way that I do. Karma and emptiness function together. There is no contradiction. If we want to end our own suffering, let alone everyone else's, then we will choose our behaviors carefully. And that's what morality means. To choose our behaviors based upon the result that they will bring in the future, not based upon what result I think they bring in the moment. Because they don't bring a result in the moment. Our behavior now plants seeds for future experience. What seems to happen in response to our now is ripening results of some behavior from the past. And that's our disconnect when it comes to morality, choosing behaviors. So morality means choosing behaviors to avoid harming others at the beginning level, ahimsa. As we evolve, we add to that, choosing ways to be more helpful, kind. And as our understanding grows, we add to both of those, avoiding harming and helping, motivated to bring beings to their ultimate happiness someday. How do we know what's a virtue and what's a non-virtue if we can't see the result because it doesn't come till way later? Buddha gave us guidelines. They're similar to all the other spiritual religious traditions' guidelines. Avoid killing. Obviously and subtly. Avoid stealing things from people, others. Avoid sexual misconduct. Avoid interfering with relationships. Avoid lying. Avoid speaking to pull people apart divisively. Avoid speaking harshly. Avoid speaking uselessly. Avoid jealousy. Avoid acting on your jealousy. Let's put it that way. Avoid ill-willing, wishing bad stuff on others. And avoid wrong view, which is a long story. Let's just call it come to recognize that our behavior does matter. And then those evolve, they get deeper and deeper, more and more subtle as we work with them. And it's one thing to avoid those. It's another level to say, well, what's the opposite of those? And that's what I want to train myself in. Okay? Avoiding killing and protecting life are different behaviors. Protecting others' belongings, honoring, respecting, protecting others' relationships, not interfering, speaking truthfully, speaking to bring people together, speaking intentionally, kindly, sweetly, lovely, right? Sounds coming out of it. Speaking purposefully. The opposite of jealousy. Being happy when others get things they want. Trying to help them get things they want. Opposite of ill will. Caring that someone's having a hard time and being willing to help them even if we don't like them. Right? The opposite of ill will. And correct worldview. We're talking about that. Doing all of that stuff because we understand the marriage of karma and emptiness. And so my behavior now is the arena within which I have the power to create a pure world for everyone. Morality and emptiness are two sides of the same coin, the coin of existence, our existence. Okay. You have to look at the coin, one side or the other, as we're learning about it, right? Say you don't know what a coin is. Look, it looks like this on this side. It looks like this on this side. The two are connected, okay? When you have this one, you can't see the one on the back side, but you know it's there. Flip it around. You see the back side. You can't see the front side, which is now the back side, but you know it's there and you know what's on it. So it's a great analogy, this coin thing. Karma, things have to be blank from their own side for karma to work. And karma has to be working for things to appear to be empty of self-nature. When I'm looking at the appearance side, I can't see the emptiness because it's the other side of the coin. When I flip it around and I look at the emptiness, I can't see the dependent origination because it's the other side of the coin. But I know they're both happening when I look at either one. So human life is in the karma side, the appearing side. And we repeatedly remind ourselves, well, I know the back side of the coin is the emptiness, which means the potential of this whole situation is, you know, it could have been anything. It's done and gone now. And how I reacted to it created future. I hope I did good. And we keep working with that, growing that state of mind of choosing our responses instead of allowing our habitual reactions to things. Even just making our cup of tea is an opportunity to recognize where the ability to have a cup of tea really comes from. And if we're all by ourselves with our cup of tea, we would offer it, right, before we partake, so that we share it with somebody, so there'll be tea for everyone in the future. I missed that about deceptive reality. What was it? Need to go. So again, the whole purpose of all of this Okay. Tracy asked if our reality is deceptive and we see one side there, how can we know that the other side is there simultaneously at the same time if the whole thing is deceptive? Right? So thank you for being a little Subhuti there, because that shows me that we are still misunderstanding what we mean when we say deceptive, right? If we hear the word deceptive and we think it means that the deceptive side of the coin isn't really there because it's deceptive, I think it's there, but it's really not. We've fallen off the cliff of nihilism. And then you're right. If the deceptive side coin side is not there, there's no emptiness to be there. You can't have the other side of a coin if you don't have the front side. You can't have a back side. But deceptive reality does not mean that reality is not there at all. It means I'm deceived by my own mind thinking that the pen is coming from it. I'm deceived in that I'm not aware directly of this pen coming from my seeds. So the appearance side of the coin, let's call it the front side of the coin, is the recognizing that the appearance is my karma. And that reveals to us the backside of the coin, which is the emptiness of the object and the me and the interaction between for this experience to be what it is. Okay. So deceptive reality is deceptive to the mind that is deceived by it. When we reach Arhat, we're no longer deceived by deceptive reality. Neither are Buddhas deceived by deceptive reality, but they still experience appearances and know the emptiness. Arhat are not experiencing the emptiness directly the way fully enlightened beings are, but they are experiencing directly everything as their own seeds ripening. So we could say that when we reach that level, we would no longer be deceived by what we used to call deceptive reality, but there is still appearing reality and its emptiness happening, right? So deceptive does not mean it doesn't really exist. Deceptive means it looks like it all exists independent of my seeds ripening it, and that reality doesn't exist. The one that exists independent of my seeds ripening doesn't exist. In fact, it never did and never could. Okay? Deceptive reality objects are like a two-headed purple elephant in your room right now. Do you have to go looking for it to see whether it's there or not? No, because there's no such thing. Then why do we have to go looking for the self-existent thing, the gaksha? It's as if we believe so strongly that there is a two-headed purple elephant in my room that I have to cower in the corner to make sure it doesn't trample on me. Self-existent things are as ridiculous as saying, watch out for the two-headed purple elephant that's there with you. Sarahni, no such thing. Neither is the boss yelling at you, I didn't do anything at all. Two-headed purple elephant. Oh, they're not there at all. It's all deceptive. This is not really happening. Is that the right conclusion? No. Oh man, here we go again, right? My seeds ripening on the blank screen of me and boss and whatever. And I regret it, right? I am so sorry I was such a jerk before. If I have that state of mind in response to the yelling boss, am I as likely to yell back? No, right? And that's the beauty of that awareness. Man, I made this all happen. We're not supposed to go, oh man, what a jerk I was, and yeah, I'm never going to be good enough. It's like, darn, right? I did it. I regret it. I'm burning it off. I am not going to replant it because this is unpleasant for everybody. Right? Recognizing our past responsibility, we recognize our current opportunity to create. And we can focus on our creatability, right? Moment by moment by moment, using the guidelines of those 10 virtues. Because if we cultivate the positive, we naturally avoid the negative. And we're creating this future, right? That's more positive than just avoiding negative. Do you see the difference? Yeah. So the second question on your homework is, well, then, does understanding the no self nature of things means we can do anything we want to get the happiness we want? And again, it's kind of slippery because it is true. Anything can bring anything. But it's not true that that means we can do anything we want from an ignorant perspective. Because what I want to do when that boss is yelling at me again is throttle him, you know? But I'm not going to do that. Even before understanding karma and emptiness, I wouldn't do that. But we think that the object or experience's pleasure is coming from it. And so we think whatever we do to get it to come to us in the moment is the cause of getting its pleasant result. It's deceptive because the pleasant result is not in that strawberry shortcake. The pleasant experience is in having served chocolate ice cream to somebody else in the past who liked chocolate ice cream. So what we do in the moment to get or avoid is not the source of getting or avoiding until later. Why am I going into that? Because of the empty nature of things and the appearing nature of their being our own ripening seeds, what I want to do to get what I want is in fact helping others get what they want that are moral and compassionate, okay, and helpful. What I do to avoid what I don't want is to help others to avoid what they don't want. Okay? And it's a big shift from what we were brought up to do and be. And that's why it's so radical. And that's why it's so powerful. Because every time we act from that understanding, even a little tiny bit, all of our seeds are shook up a little bit. Yeah. By that little bit of wisdom that we apply. So it's worth the effort, the baby efforts, even when we fail, because it does this earthquake thing to our ignorance. And the more we do that, the more we can do it. And the closer we get to transforming our experiences from deceptive reality to profound dependence reality. And we all have the capacity to do it. All right, so you can now finish your homework 9 and your homework 10. And next class we do the review, so you'll be able to do your final exam and complete your papers and get your certificate. And tell me, please, when you do, would you shoot me off an email and say, I sent my finals in. I would love to rejoice for your completion. It would help me. So thank you for the extra 2 minutes.
Didn't you say we weren't supposed to grade our own final exam?
Yeah,
How
we,
about that?
right. You know, check with the platform on how they go about grading, getting your finals graded. But my other group, they trade amongst themselves, because that way you have a personal connection with who's grading your paper and you can nag them to get it done, right? So I'm not sure how the platform runs it, but you know, use some system, right, that will get your final graded swiftly. Yeah, so that it can all get submitted, right? We want the completion. I want the completion for you. So remember that person that we wanted to be able to help? We learned a lot in this class, in this whole course, that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Grow your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales, share this goodness with that one person. Share it with everyone you love. Share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with wisdom. And living according to it, and may it be so. All righty. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to share. Have a lovely weekend. I will see you on Monday. Yes,
Thank you,
thanks,
teacher.
translators. You guys are awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Sarahni. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.